welcome to Dordt University. My name is Eric Hoekstra. I get to serve here as the president. It's really fun. There are a couple of you parents dropping off students this year that I taught back in 1997, which makes me really old, and maybe you see me limping a little bit. I will be getting a new hip on September 30. It'll be my second one, so I was just glad to get through. It's kind of ironic to preach this morning on the one who falls down has no one to pick him up, and being very worried that if I fall down on the stage, my wife cannot pick me up. But by God's grace, we got through the service this morning. But to be at Dordt long enough to see alumni coming back and trusting us with their kids makes me cry. It is also a blessing that I don't take lightly. And so maybe some of you met my wife, Barb. She teaches in the teacher ed department. She actually is taught here all the way through. I left for about 8 years and did some other things here in Iowa, ran some companies. I'm serving my 13th year as president here. I'm only the third and a half president at Dordt in our history. So Dordt is 70 years old this year, and literally I'm still the newbie as president with my 13th year. The average college president in America today lasts about 6.5 years. And so, but literally the shortest serving president ever at Dordt was 14 years, and I'm just starting my 13th. God has been very good to this place in terms of leadership, and you're going to meet some more of our leaders here in just a minute with the panel. But I will be here during the question and answer period and be happy to do it. Yes, we are growing. It's amazing to see, and I do apologize for the lack of air conditioning during the service to have that many people in here. We're building off the back. We've had water coming in here all summer. The air conditioning's not, we're going to replace that as a part of this. We are working on it. But God has been so good to us in terms of growing this place. Back in 2005, Dordt had a total of 1,254 students, all in, graduate, undergraduate. And over the last now 20 years, God has blessed us. We think that it'll probably be something of 1,975 or something total. About 300 or 400 of those are grad students or online students, but there will be almost 1,600 undergraduates on campus this semester, and that's during a period from 2005 that higher education overall is down about 10%, and we're up, more than 50% during that time. It's just unbelievable how God has blessed us. And people ask me why, and I'll just share with you my 3 whys. One is we have the right programs with professors that are just amazing, and your students are going to get to meet them. But the kinds of programs that, by God's grace and by a bunch of smart people over the last 70 years, said we should have engineering, we should have agriculture, we should have criminal justice, we should have chemistry and biology programs that can get kids into PT school and med school and those kind of things. And they just built the right programs. And then, by God's grace, we've hired the right people, number one. Number 2 is keeping it affordable. And I understand you've written some big checks already today, maybe, or your kids are going to. I understand when I say affordable, you kind of look at me like, dude, are you serious? But we will get your student done in 4 years in engineering and in nursing, or maybe less than that. So your students can take classes during the summer in our core program online, same Christian professors, they're not giving anything up. But if your student wants to get done early, we will work with them to do that. It's a big deal to us to get them done on time. We do not want to hold them here any longer. The state universities, right, they get paid per head per year. They want to keep them there because they get more money from the governor by doing it. We want to launch them into God's world as quickly as we can, and that's how we're going to keep it affordable. As well as we've about quadrupled our scholarships over the last 10 years. We will help. If finances are an issue, come see us. We will work with your student on that. So the right programs with the right people, affordable. Those are 2 things, but the most important thing is the centrality of the story of Jesus Christ that you heard this morning. The centrality of that plays into every aspect of this campus. From our athletic programs, to our engineering programs, to residence life program, to everything. The story of creation, fall, redemption, and consummation in Jesus Christ is the only reason that we're here. And if you see cracks in that, you know how to get in touch with me. We want to be that university. We want to be held up and be accountable to our constituents about that. But that is just sadly becoming a rarer and rarer thing in America. And so we are getting more and more people. And so we're building onto the campus and doing all we can to do it. So I want to invite the panel up to share some things with you as parents. Robert Taylor, our Vice President for Student Success and our Dean of Students, is going to chair the panel. We'll be available for questions as it goes along. We'll hand some mics out after they give some introductory remarks, but very sincerely thank you for trusting us with your student here at Dordt. And Robert and the panel.
Thank you so much, President Hoekstra. As you mentioned, my name is Robert Taylor, and I get to serve as the Vice President for Student Success and Dean of Students here at Dordt. I'm in my 26th year. I absolutely love this place, and I think that you're going to hear as you get to interact with the panel a little bit. You probably won't run into, I don't think you'll run into anybody here who doesn't love this place. We're here because we want to serve your students, and we're so excited to see the unfolding that God's doing while they're here. You've been watching it for quite a while, and now we get to watch it a little bit with you, and we'll be so excited to see who they become when they get to leave this place and go out and impact the kingdom. So that is so much of what you will hear from this panel, how we're going to do that, how we're going to support your student, how we're going to walk beside them during this time, and I hope it's a theme that you hear all day long and in every communication that we have with you. So we're always looking at how your student's doing physically, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, and socially. That's a mouthful right there. And we all know that if we look at our own lives, it's hard to keep all of those things in check, and so is it with your students. But we want to walk beside them and try and help keep those things in check, because what we've seen over the years is that when a student's healthy, that's when the academics fall into place really, really well. And we all know that if one area gets a little bit, drops down a little bit, it tends to pull other areas with it. And so our goal is to try and keep students from whatever's happening in their life, the curveballs that life throws them, whether it's a change in a significant relationship, or maybe the health in someone who they care deeply about, maybe something that's happening with someone that they knew from high school. Whatever it is, life throws these curveballs, and we want to make sure that when those things happen, that we've got the right supports around them. And that's something that you've been doing for all these years. We're not going to try to take your place, but we are in proximity right now, and so we're going to do everything that we can to serve them well, keep you informed as much as we possibly can. We'll encourage your student to always be in communication with you. And we know that you'll be praying for them and supporting them from afar. So we'll hear from the panel. They'll each share a little bit about the areas that they represent on campus. At the end, you're going to have an opportunity to ask questions. We'll throw a QR code up so you'll be able to anonymously ask questions. If you have questions that are kind of private, we will all stick around afterwards down here. And then we'll also be at the parent social afterwards as well. So if you have more of a private question, come down and find us afterwards, and we'll be happy to answer those. So for starters, I'm going to tell you a little bit about career development, because our director of career development wasn't able to be here today, so I get to tell you a little bit about career development. The mission of career development is to encourage all current Dordt students in vocational and career development, and to equip students with the tools necessary to find employment and enroll in graduate school as they work towards Christ-centered renewal. So if you look at page 8 in your Defender Parent Handbook, you all have these, yes? You don't have to look at it now, but career development is in there. The things that I really want to get across to you is that your students should not wait until they're seniors to get into the career development office. We have services that can help them all throughout their time at Dordt, and the sooner they get in there, the better. We do individual appointments where we help them look at who God's called them to be, and what's your gift set, and how might that fit in with the things that you're studying. Or maybe they show up here and they think they want to be this, and they start digging into the material, and all of a sudden they're saying, oh, I'm not sure I want to be that, but as I talk to the person down the hall, they're studying this, and that actually sounds really interesting. Don't be scared if that happens. People change their majors. We still work extremely hard to get them through here in the timeline that they're working towards, whether it's 4 years or 2 years, 3 years. So we'll help them look at all of those things. We help with resume writing, with cover letter writing. We help with networking and internships and all those sorts of things too. We have this massive, it's called Handshake, and all of your students are automatically enrolled in it, and all of our job postings go into there and our internships go into there. So they have this incredible database, and we'll help them with mock interviews. We do etiquette dinners, so they know which fork to use or which spoon to use or what order to use things in when they finally have that formal dinner at an interview. We prepare your students really, really well. So to prove it, our statistics, our career outcome for this past year was 99%. That means 99% of our students either had a grad school that they were going to or they had a job. And over the last 15 years, we've always been above 95%. You'll see, so that was class of 2023. You'll see class of 2024 stats coming out in January. We do it the same as all schools. We get the full year to collect. But what we do know is that 75% of those students, by the time they walked across the stage and got their diplomas, they either had employment or they were enrolled in a grad school. So we're really proud of the work that our faculty do to prepare our students, and then the work that the career development team does to make them marketable. All right, Aaron, I'll pass it off to you.
Good afternoon. My name is Aaron Dordt, and I get to serve as both Chief of Staff and Dean of Chapel. I've been at Dordt now for 15 years, and I've really enjoyed just getting to see spiritual flourishing of students and then hear those stories by the time that they leave. We really believe deeply that our role is one of three major parts. Family and friends have the most influence on the development of a student's faith, as well as the church, and then us as well, coming alongside those efforts. And so one of our goals is to not just create programming that keeps students occupied while they're here, but bring them on a journey towards being self-feeders in their own spiritual development. We surveyed all of our students this past spring on spiritual formation and found that 90% of our students either weekly or very regularly attended local church. And it's just such a joy to see students come to a setting where they start to make their faith their own and do something that we don't require, but find other people. So in this place, you've brought your kids to somewhere where there's some very positive peer pressure in terms of what you do on a Sunday morning. And churches around us are phenomenal at unfolding people, so please encourage them with that. I guess if I had to challenge parents, and one of your phone calls coming up with your students, just ask your kid if they did like church, chapel, +1. Like if they're going to local church, if they're going to chapel weekly, and they pick one other thing in spiritual formation on campus to get involved in, that's a really simple way to have three things feeding them and connecting them with wonderful influences all around. We'll give them rides on Sunday mornings. They meet at the clock tower. We'll take them to church. On any given time on campus, 1 out of every 3 students here is in a Bible study. They start at all different times. There's on-ramps continually. They won't miss a window and then can't join in. So lots and lots of opportunities for them to join. And another great blessing that I think is rather unique to Dordt is the way that our campus ministries and our theology department pull so deeply together. I've wanted to do this for years. And this semester, our campus ministries and theology department are teaching a series on the parables of Jesus all together throughout the entire fall semester. I'm really excited about that. They're going to hear some amazing teachers. You can catch those online, as President Hoekstra alluded to. So small groups, service opportunities, missions, local church involvement, and then for any of us who's on campus ministries, our personal favorites, one-on-one conversations. And so anytime one of your kids want to have a conversation about where they're at, we can provide them confidential space. We'll encourage and challenge them in their growth and relish those opportunities when we get them.
My name is Ethan Brew, and I get to serve as Dean for Technology and Applied Sciences here at Dordt, and I also get to serve as a Professor of Engineering here for the last 24 years, and that's been a gift. So I'm here sharing that contrary to popular opinion, we're not the group in the academic setting that is in charge of eliminating students' social life. We will convince them that there isn't a major called just chilling out with friends, you do have to officially enroll in something else. And so we will remind students of that. But seriously, I think the way I would describe academics here at Dordt is we're in charge of taking very seriously students' joy, students' work, students' pain, students' play, and weaving that all together. If I was to describe academics, I would say that's what it is. We hope we keep that central role of keeping that whole of life together. And our curriculum is structured in a way that allows us to, what we call, move through a core curriculum. And core is not just simply something you have to take. Core are those common areas of life that bring us before the face of God together, no matter what discipline you're in. And then on top of that, we bring the disciplines, which are those things we need to know to serve in specific places at specific times in specific ways. And those two together, I hope all students begin to see how they can't exist without one another here at Dordt in the academic space. So I feel privileged to teach at a place that has that kind of unity of academic endeavor. So I'm glad to field any questions about that. Certainly more to say about it, but we'll leave that for down the road. So.
My name is Beth Boss. I've had the joy of caring for students through student health and counseling here for the past 17 years, and it has been a joy. In those years, it's not uncommon in the course of a year for a student to come into our area and say, wow, this is like a real place. And it really is a place, and we really do care. We have 2 exam rooms in student health and counseling and 2 counseling rooms. Students can visit our area Monday through Friday from 9 to 3. Our area is free to them. There's no cost for being seen. In your parent handbook on pages 16 through 18, you can see there the services that we provide. You also will see there information about if your student has a chronic health condition, the importance of familiarizing them with your insurance information. If you have insurance, sometimes needs to use that arise off hours when we're not on campus, and it's good for them to know. We also have provided your students with information about our area, and it looks like this. If they haven't received it already, they will before they hit class on Tuesday. There's information on both sides, similar to what you've gotten, only less wordy, that provides them with a list of what our services are, our contact information, and our hours. On every floor, there are multiple posters that look exactly like this. So if your student is ill and they can't figure out how to access care through us, just remind them that that information is on their floors. Our staff is comprised of 2 counselors and 2 nurses. It's our joy to come alongside of your student. We want to be sure that there's no illness or emotional concern that gets in the way of them being academically successful, and probably more so in the way of emotional concerns, get in the way of them achieving their life goals. So encourage them to make use of our services. Often a parent will say to me, when should our students come to see you? And I think if they're wondering if they should come to see us, they probably should. And our services are free, so there's no harm in coming. If they arrive and they're not as sick as they maybe thought they were, we've at least had the opportunity to make a connection with them. The next time they have a question about if they should come to our area, it's a little less intimidating. For health, Eric, or President Hoekstra alluded to this earlier today, we can test your student for strep. We have a variety of testing that we can do down there. We can test for mono, for strep, for influenza, and those tests come to your student without a fee. We also have the antibiotic for strep, and that is got a nominal fee that goes with it. I think it's $6. After we see your student, we will follow up with them either by email or a phone call, depending what's going on. We really want to see them back in class. We want to minimize the amount of time that a student needs to be out of class for any concern. For counseling, often parents are tempted to call and help facilitate counseling for their students. We really want to encourage you to have them be that contact person. We've found over the years that when the student makes the appointment, it usually shows that they're ready to do the work that needs to happen. The follow-through and compliance with keeping the appointments goes up. Our counselors provide 2 different types of appointments. They have what's called a single session, where a student can just make an appointment and say, I just have one thing I need to talk to somebody about. They leave at the end of that appointment with a printed goal or action list of things to do. They're welcome to come back in the future if they want to have another single session. If during that single session it's determined, oh, maybe a couple more sessions would be a good thing, then they're welcome to do that too. Many students make use of what we call our traditional type of counseling sessions, and that's where they're allowed a limited number of sessions, up to 8 a year, to work on something that just takes a little more time. In addition to our appointments that we do, or our one-on-one visits with students in our area, we do try to connect with students outside of our area. We know that not every student will have a need to come to student health and counseling in the course of their days at Dordt. And one of the ways that we connect with them outside of our office is that we have what we call health promotion, or health promotion information, wellness information that we put out once a month. We've got a different theme, and your student will see that in a variety of ways. I also want to just let you know that our counselors will do what we call our anxiety management workshop, Tools for Life, that will be offered to all students once each semester. At the end of this panel, I will be down in that corner. If any of you have anything that you want to talk to me about regarding your student, I'd be happy to talk with you then.
I'm Rose Postma, and I am the director of the Academic Enrichment Center. All of our jobs here sitting at this table are to ensure that your students who walked in this morning also walk across this stage at graduation. And my office's role is specifically trying to figure out what kinds of academic support your student needs to be successful. Our office offers tutoring, peer tutoring. Last year we did about 7,000 different appointments in our area. So if your student tells you that they don't need tutoring, you tell them they do, because most students do come see us. And some of them sign up for a regular appointment, and others just come for a drop-in proofreading or a one-time test prep, but we can handle all of that kind of support. Our tutoring is all free. It's going to be with a fellow student who has taken that class before. And this year we are going to have a no-phone zone tutoring session so that we can prioritize your students' interaction with their tutor, and that can be a valuable experience for them. The tutors are not going to reteach the content of a class. Your student is going to have to come to that session with questions so that they are bringing something to that table as well. Students who have a documented disability may qualify for academic accommodations, and our office also handles all of those academic accommodations. That process looks a lot different than it does for many students in high school, so if your student has questions about that, we are more than happy to walk them through that process and kind of guide them as they figure that out. There's a couple things you can do to set your student up for success, and I'm going to give you some very little known information. And that is 2 things that we do not see in successful students. So this is what we see in unsuccessful students. The first is our successful students are going to class all the time, and they're turning in all their work. And those are the 2 biggest things that a student can do to be successful, and also come to tutoring. It's also good. We can't guarantee that turning in all your work and attending every class is going to get you a 4.0 or even a 3.0, but we think we can help you be successful and walk across this stage again. One other thing that you can look at as you are kind of going over your student schedule this weekend and you're talking about what the semester is going to look like is looking at the academic schedule and helping your student to prioritize being in class. And maybe your students are different than past students, but some students are very quick to look for a way that they don't have to be in class. And so if they can find a reason not to be, take that reason away, Look at their exam schedule now so that you can look at your travel plans so that they can be in class and at their exams. The academic schedule, the exam schedule are all available online. So I encourage you before you say goodbye today to look through those and kind of make your plans so that your student can prioritize their being in class. The Academic Enrichment Center is located in the lower level of the library. We are open Monday through Friday. We have student staff who man our desk even in the evenings. So if your student is struggling or having questions or not sure what to do, definitely send them to us. They can just stop by our desk and we're more than willing to answer their questions. And in many times we are referring and guiding to the other people at this table.
My name is Derek Butine, and I serve in Student Services as the Associate Dean of Students and the Director of Residence Life. So I oversee the Residence Life program, campus housing, student activities, and campus security. So my goal for you, for your student, is to be connected on campus. And we intentionally design our housing placements so that your student is getting to know a wide variety of people, not just the people who are similar to them. So we have engineers living on the same wing as education majors, and we have choir members living next to soccer players, and so on and so forth. But we think that there's something really valuable about getting to hear different stories and have those interactions and learning from one another and people who are just different than you. Right now, your student is back in the dorms having their first meeting with their RA, which hopefully you've all had a chance to meet the RA as well. They're wearing the shirts like I am. Their RA is a great resource for them. So the RA facilitates weekly events with their wing, and they can be that kind of first point of contact for when issues might come up. I just spent the last 2 weeks with the RAs in training, which was a lot of excitement and fun. But they all hear from these departments represented on stage, and they're trained to refer and connect students to these departments if there are things that come up. So if they have something, please encourage them to connect with their RA because it's a great first point of contact. We're also very intentional about student events on campus. We're always thinking about how we can connect students with other students, and the RAs plan an event for their students, for their residents, every single week on their wing. And sometimes that looks like making pancakes at midnight, and sometimes it looks like going to Thursday night worship together. It totally depends. But they also plan building events once a month, and then the student activities team plans an event every single weekend. So beyond even the campus ministries events and the athletic events, there's always something going on campus, and those spaces are a great way for your students to meet other students. Another thing that my area does is we get to help students navigate roommate issues. So not every roommate pair is the perfect match. We're pretty close. But every group is going to have things that just come up in a relationship. And we're here to walk with students through that. And our first reaction isn't necessarily going to be just to separate the students and find different housing accommodations. Sometimes we get to that point and that's the end result. But we're going to work with them to help walk through that conflict. When students come to my office and we're talking through a conflict like this, one of the first questions I ask them is, have you talked to your roommate about this? And so many times the answer is no, I haven't. So we talk through what a conversation like that can look like and just kind of go from there, but we start at that starting point. And sometimes it does end up that we need to make a switch, and that's totally fine, but we want to equip students so that they're able to kind of confront those, just real life scenarios and work through it well. And sometimes there are situations and crises that come up, and maybe that's, a physical or mental health need, and we talked about some of the resources we have on campus, and we partner really well with those departments. But we also partner with local agencies and the hospitals in the area too. And I know they do a great job of providing care for your student, and we've worked with them a lot in the past. So our goal, if a situation like that does arise, our goal is to get your student connected with you as soon as we can. We want the student to make the phone call to you to kind of help explain what's going on. You're the ones that know them best, and we want to work closely with you in those circumstances. Thank you.
QR code up here. So if you use your phone, the QR code will lead you up to a spot where you can input a question. So I'm hoping that you guys will have some good questions for the panel. In the meantime, I'll fill a little bit of space. We have a new mentoring program that we're just rolling out this year that's out of the Career Development Office. We're really excited about it. We hired Mr. Dave Schenk to come and run that program, and we basically reached out to Defender Nation and said, who would be interested in mentoring one of our students? We were pretty overwhelmed by the response that we got, although we could still take more. But I think we had around 300 responses. And the cool thing here is that we'll be able to partner students who are studying in a certain area with somebody who's out in the world in that vocation. And we think that when we pair them together, there'll be all sorts of great things that will come from that. And so we're really excited to roll that program out. Your student will be hearing about that probably in the first couple of weeks. Do we have any questions yet?
Yeah, we have some good ones already. If we do have concerns, health concerns, who should we contact?
Health concerns?
Health concerns.
Sure.
If you have a health concern, you're welcome to call our office. I always tell parents that we can receive a lot of information. We can't always call and give you back information until we've had your student sign a release of information, but we are happy to receive information. Encourage your student to also try to be the one to link with us. Often students, they can do that. When we are contacted by a parent who has concerns about either health or emotional concerns, our first call is to Derek's office. Their staff is awesome. They write a little comment about how each student is doing once every couple weeks. And so if you had an emotional health concern about your student, we would turn to Derek's office and they would be able to look at that log over the last few weeks and see if there had been any changes. And Derek's staff is the one that goes and taps him on the shoulder and will say, is everything okay? Those RAs hang a little closer to him. But when they need to come to our area, we work in any way we can to get them there. I hope that answers the question.
Thanks, Beth. And I'll mention one other thing. FERPA, the Family Education Rights and Privacy Act, is a government-mandated act that we all have to comply with. And that says that we cannot share information about your student with you, but we have some ways to deal with that. Your student can sign a release of information that allows us to speak freely with you. My favorite is to say, let's have a phone call, let's make it a conference call. Your student comes to whatever office, and then we're all on the call together. And so there are ways that we can solve that. Just know that we're not stonewalling. We do have to comply with this regulation, but we do have plenty of ways to get around it. If your student is in an emergent situation, we will call you. We do have the right to do that if it's emergent. So if there's a medical thing, your student's at the hospital, hopefully that doesn't happen, but if it would, we would get a hold of you. Like Derek said, if your student's able, we'd have your student call you because you'd much rather hear their voice on the other end of the phone than you would one of ours. But if they can't, then we will call you, we will tell you what's going on, and we'll keep you informed. So it's the Family Education Rights and Privacy Act, but we do have ways to work with it really well.
Can I just tag on to that? If your student were to be seen in our area with something that we knew, clearly we're not going to be able to take care of this, we would help them be seen off campus. We would help make that call and get them seen as soon as possible. If transportation was a problem, we would try to help arrange that for them. And whenever we have a student that's in the room that needs to be seen off campus, we encourage them to contact mom and dad before they are seen off campus. Sometimes that even means that we bring the phone into the room so that they can make that call there.
Thanks, Beth.
What do you recommend as like best practices for participating and encouraging in students' lives, in kids' lives, but without micromanaging students as parents?
Encouraging anything?
And participating in their lives.
Oh, parents participating in the students' lives? Yes?
Oh, yes, yes.
Okay. Yeah. Anybody?
I think if you're on your weekly phone call at a time you've arranged with your son or daughter, just to simply be able to ask them, so what did you all go to on campus this week? Who'd you meet that was new? Tell me about a new experience you had. Tell me what a class you were in, and just ask the questions to get them talking. I think you'd probably get a pretty quick gauge on how active and how pursuant they've been of the opportunities around them.
What are some ways that students can be connected with the broader community?
There's a number of different ways that students can do that. Out of our campus ministries office, we run something that's called a community outreach program, where we connect with nonprofits and churches all around the area. If students want to work with another group of students that visits inmates in a local prison, if they want to work with some of our local charities, Union Gospel Mission, if they want to work with Justice for All Ministry in Rock Valley, Love Inc., an after-school program called Kid Zone in town. Those types of opportunities are all different places. They can do a one and done, or they can sign up on a one that regularly gets them involved. So between the community outreach program and then also local churches, or sometimes even just getting a job in town is another way that they could do that.
I'm not sure if any of you can answer this one, but it is a popular question. Defender Crunch was a part of the reason our students chose Dordt. Where can we buy more to take with us a comfort food for the drive home?
Wow, how many of you have had Defender Crunch? Almost all of you. I have a really interesting fun fact for you. My father retired and was bored, and so he was looking for something to do, and part of my responsibilities is overseeing dining. And I said, hey, we can always use help in dining. It's his job to make all of the Defender Crunch. So I don't know how you can get more of it, though, because seriously, he's making it nonstop, and it's never enough.
Does Dordt
Great question.
Does Dordt provide any software with Microsoft 365 for students on their personal laptops? And is there computer troubleshooting available if problems arise?
Sure, yeah. All students, thank you for fixing my mic. I didn't even realize it wasn't good, but I'm really loud now. So all students do get access to Office 365. That's just a part of the package here. So they do get that, and troubleshooting is through our computer services department. We've got a help desk, and they are very helpful, and they're very quick, and most of them have been working here for a really long time, so if there is a computer issue, they've probably seen it 1,000 times. So yeah, we're happy to help with that.
Does each student already have an academic advisor assigned to them?
Yes, they do. And the easy way to get connected is to make sure that your student looks at their schedule and 10:30 on Monday morning connects at the program orientation, because that's where real advisors get connected with real students. And so it's not just names on paper, but faces. And then we set up appointments very quickly after that where we can have a one-on-one conversation and make sure that that relationship starts off right off the bat. It might be the shortest advising session that I ever have, is quite often, yep, I don't have any questions and I think everything's okay. And that's fine. But we want to make sure that we meet with those students right off the bat. So they do have an academic advisor, and just make sure that they attend the Monday morning session, and that's where they'll get connected. So,
With new construction, will we see a jump in tuition in the next 4 years?
He got up really quick. Bad hip and all.
So if you look back at the history of Dordt over the last 12 years, it's been one of the things that I've put out there as a marker is we were under a 3% forever. I think this year it might be just over 3%, but our goal is to keep it affordable, as I mentioned. You will not see increases because of construction. Our donors have come alongside us. We've got a debt financing through the USDA at very good rates. You won't see it because of that. You will see an increase. I can almost guarantee it that over the 4 years there will be probably about a 3% increase in tuition and probably the 2 to 3% increase in room and board. That's going to be my guess. That's not a commitment. We will do everything we can. I've run companies before I did this. I will treat every one of our student dollars as if it was my dollar. I guarantee you, we are a frugal bunch here. We are not wasting dollars. We are fundraising like there's no tomorrow to keep it affordable. But just because of construction, no. There won't be increases because of that. Our professors probably could work for double, and they'd have to work about half as hard as we work them here if they were in public education. So it ain't, it's not lost on us that is the case. I consider everybody that works here a volunteer. They work here because of their heart. Yes, we pay them. I cannot stand Christian organizations that say, we're going to pay you like crap because it's a ministry. That doesn't fly here. So we try to pay people appropriately. We try to use our student dollars, our donor dollars, and every dollar well. But yes, you probably will see increases.
If we need to save money by making Defender Crunch in the chemistry lab, we're going to do so.
Aaron, you mentioned church, chapel, and +1. What are those +1 options?
That's a great question. Thank you. Monday night, there's a prayer service. Thursday night, there's praise and worship. This coming Sunday night, we'll have a kickoff worship service. So not tomorrow, but the following Sunday night, after evening church in town, we'll have a kickoff service here, where we'll also introduce students to all the small group, all the mission opportunities that they have. So you could go on an international mission trip over Christmas. You could do a domestic service project over spring break. You could sign up with our community outreach program. You could join a Bible study. All kinds of different ways that you could get involved in that area.
If a student's schedule has them in back-to-back classes during the lunch period, what do we do to ensure that they can still have lunch?
Sure, yeah, the best way is for them to interact with our dining team and explain their situation. And I mean, we do everything from making a special meal just for them to just helping them understand what some of the options are that already exist. But we'll make sure that they get fed. So tell them to talk to the dining team. And while we're talking dining, if your student has a food allergy, same thing. We'll make a special plate just for them, but we have to know about it. So we encourage you to encourage your student to talk to the dining team. They can just grab anyone in the dining hall, and they'll get them to the right person, and we'll make sure that they're taken care of.
If I can also add on to that, if you look in your parent book, towards the bottom of page 9, it lists 2 specific options they can do if they have potential class conflicts. They can, through their app, mobile order ahead of time and quickly run through the grill and just grab it as it's waiting there for them. Or they can do the to-go boxes through the commons where they drop off an empty box, they get a new one, and they take it with them. So there's multiple options, and if they forget them, you can remind them. Just go to the bottom of page 9.
And I should say professors are very understanding if students have to eat lunch in the class period. That is okay as well. Professors know that they have back-to-back classes on some days.
Even Ethan?
I'm not sure about Dr. Brew.
But again, it would be a good idea for them to talk to that professor and just say, hey, would this be okay? Here's my schedule, and they're going to say yes.
Can you talk to us about how you keep students safe on campus? Is there campus security, et cetera?
Sure. Yeah, we do have campus security, but we have what I would say is even better. We have a police department that's only a few blocks away, and they can typically get here faster than what security would be able to get here or than what security could respond on most campuses. So while we do have campus security, it's actually run by students. They're first responders. They're in touch with law enforcement, but law enforcement's probably going to almost get here before the students get here in any emergency. We always say 911 is your first call. Campus security is your second call if it's an emergency. And then we do all kinds of training with local emergency officials so that they know our campus well, so that we know how to work well together. And when we have to do a handoff to the hospital or something like that, we know all of the people there. In fact, we have one of our medical doctors who's kind of our assigned liaison is somebody who was right down the hall from me my freshman year at Dordt. So even when we hand our students off to someone else, a lot of times they're affiliated with Dordt in one way or another, going to our local churches. So we know that when you're far away, that can bring some comfort, so I want you to be aware of that too.
Robert, if I could add one more thing on top of that in terms of security. Dordt uses a system called Everbridge that has every single employee and student's cell phone number entered into it, as well as their emails. If there was ever any sort of emergency on campus, every student would be texted and emailed instantly and told where to go, and then messaged again when there was an all clear, if there was a tornado scare, if there was something along those lines. So that's a system that we have built in already to contact every single person on campus instantaneously.
That's great. I'm seeing that we're getting up against time. Is there one more that's pressing?
Yeah, I'll ask one more question, and then some of them that we didn't get to, we will send out a mass email about the parent panel Q&A and other helpful information that the team talked about next week. So anything we didn't address will be emailed out to all the parents next week. Phones in classes, what's allowed, monitored, and discouraged to what degree?
Phones in classes are not a good thing, generally. So you'll find that class by class has different ways of dealing with that. We don't have a standard across the board. I'll just be honest, it's discouraged. Eliminating distraction for all of us is so important for learning. So you will find faculty members who simply say, no phones whatsoever in the class. You will have others that are a little bit more, okay, I'm going to put it on you to stay focused and in class, but it is something that they will come across class by class. So listen to the faculty member. There's a reason why they give that instruction in that particular class.
So as the president opened, he mentioned just how excited that we are to have your student here and how we take it very seriously that you're leaving them in our care. And we will do everything that we can to help your student be successful here at Dordt. You've heard a little bit about that here. There's so much more that we could not cover, but just know that, again, we love your students and we just want to see them well. That's the thing that motivates us. We want to help them grow into those effective kingdom citizens so that when they leave this place, their neighborhoods, their workplaces, their churches, they all look different because a Dordt grad just moved in. And I hope that there are a lot of schools, Christian schools, that are saying similar kinds of things. We don't think we have the corner on this, but we do think that our graduates go out and do beautiful things with the gifts that God's given them and the equipping that they've received, both from you and from here at Dordt. So,
Robert, if I can, just real quick, there's one more question that I want to just quickly address. We talked about students getting caught in some kind of challenge on campus, and it mentioned addiction and those kind of things. I can commit to you, these people have seen it all. They amaze me. When something bad happens to a student in terms of discipline, the way in which they, I wouldn't say rejoice from the standpoint of excited about it, but they are absolutely fearless to work through things with students. I could tell you a personal story in our family. I can tell you actually 2 stories of our family, but I won't. I will just simply say that when something bad happens, these folks jump in, and I can guarantee you if your student has some kind of a hidden problem, whether it's addiction to substance or pornography or anything else, that's why they wake up in the morning, is to help your student work through that. Coming forward to your student, there will not be penalties inordinately for coming through with a challenge that they are working through. That's why we're here. And I just want to highlight that. There's a whole system of grace-based discipline. Yes, your student can get asked to leave for a variety of reasons, but that is our last thing that we want to do. And when we ask them to leave, we're going to make sure we ask them to come back. There's all kinds of things in that. I just am so in awe of what you guys do, and I saw that question, and I didn't want that to be an email answer later. I wanted it to come from my heart.
thank you. I'll close us in prayer, and then, like I mentioned, we'll be gathered down here so that if there are any other questions, and then we'll also be over at the Parent Social, which starts at 3 o'clock over in the Diego right next door. Lord, thanks for today. Thanks that we could celebrate these students coming and joining the Dordt community. Thanks that we could have this time with all these parents now. And we just pray a blessing over the students. And we just ask that you would be close to them, be near to them, and whatever they encounter in their time here. We pray that you would give them good friends. We pray that they would be inspired in the classroom and through the conversations that they have outside of the classroom. We pray that you would just take care of them, be near to them, hold them close, and help us in all of our roles, whether it's parent, whether it's staff, whether it's faculty. Help us to know how to unfold these students, how to love them well, and how to continue the work that the parents have started in guiding them in your direction. And Lord, may you be glorified in all of that. Thanks for this beautiful responsibility. Thanks for your love, and thanks for your grace. We pray all this in the name of Christ Jesus. Amen. And I just want to read what you sang over your student. The Lord bless you and keep you. Make his face to shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord turn his face toward you and give you peace. And I hope that when you've got those moments where you might be a little bit worried about your student, I hope that that can bring you some comfort, because I'm sure it'll be comforting them too. All right, we will all be down here, so let us know how we can help.